Shalom, shalom. Welcome to Eretz Yisrael. Welcome to Erev Shabbat Rosh HaShana 5781. It's an exciting time. You feel the world coming to its conclusion and beginning again. It's an endless renewal. We're told about this from the beginning, that when God wanted to create the world, he needed the idea of reward and punishment in order to give us free choice. And so before there was free choice, before there was reward or punishment, it was all good. Completely good, endlessly good. And he had to make a distinction between good and not good. And that distinction began with creation itself. Of course, the story with Adam and Eve. Well, we're told in the Mishnah, Pirkei Avot, the oral law tells us that God could have created all the world with a singular revelation of his presence. But he had to hide himself in order that there would be reward and punishment. And so the reward would go to, he tells us, to the righteous in the time to come, and the not righteous, well, they would get what they created in this world or what they destroyed. That would be their inheritance. Okay. Well, what we see is an amazing idea. An idea that can change everything for us. And it's an idea that I first recognized when I saw the Lubavitcher Rebbe. I saw his face. I saw Rav Kaduri's face. I saw Rabbi Yisrael Odesser's face. And I said, there is something strange here. They look like old men, but they emanate youth. Now, how is it that old men emanate youth? I said, this is a contradiction. This is an oxymoron. This is something's not processing. I'm looking at a 90-year-old man, a 100-year-old man, and his face radiates complete youth. It's almost ageless. And I said, that has to be coming from somewhere. And just today in this morning's davening, the answer came to me. Where is it coming from? That agelessness you see about these 100-year-old rabbis. It's that light that God stored away in the beginning of the creation for the righteous. It's that original distinction between good and evil. That's the hidden light that he put away for the future world. And when you dedicate yourself to God, guess what? You get that light revealed in you. And you can be 100 years old and still smile like you're 21. And feel it too. And so, but we know that God did something else. He put that ancient light of agelessness, he put it in the letters of the Torah. So that by learning Torah, by living Torah, by practicing the mitzvot and sharing and giving goodness to the world, we take in that ancient light from the Torah and we put it away. And then at a certain point in your life, it's like this carob tree. You know, it takes 70 years for the carob tree to reach its full maturity, and the fruit comes out. And you can be an 80-year-old man and suddenly feel like you were just born. And so Rosh Hashanah, Shabbat, are these two concepts bound together. Because the first Shabbat was, of course, also the first Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the first year. And that's that light. And this is the light that heals, the light that gives faith and hope and joy. Because it's above time altogether. It's above being old. It's above being young. It's above being sick. It's above everything in this world. In the beginning, we have this concept called Ein Sof, the endless one. But the endless one wanted to create us in order to have a relationship, in order to give his goodness to the good, to people that were good. And so we're tapping really into here today, we're tapping into the beginning that will be given over in completion at the end. So there's this huge cycle taking place, 5,781 years old. Now those years and how you measure them and how you measure age and time, we've talked about that in many Shiurim classes on Facebook, on YouTube, on Patreon. And we're not going to go into all the details that we've covered there, obviously. But we have to understand that time is a flexible construct. It is not a rigid idea based upon the simple movement of the planets, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and our little earth, right? Okay, so time itself is a flexible concept. But when I saw those rabbis and I received their blessings and I tried to talk to them a little bit, it was like you were talking to a very young, wise person. You didn't feel age. You didn't feel old. You didn't feel tiredness. You didn't feel weariness. You didn't feel giving up. None of that was by these great rabbis. And that's why we're attached to them. That's why we learn their teachings. And that's why we follow their path. Because we also want to be old and young at the same time. And Rabbi Nachman talks about this in one of his famous stories, The Seven Beggars. There is a blind man who says, I am the youngest and I am the oldest. I've seen the most and therefore I'm the oldest. But I'm living now. When you're born now, you are 0 years old. And if you're born now, in this moment, how do you measure time? It's beginning now. So Rosh Hashanah is about being that rebirth that takes place in the now, and it's connecting to the beginning, the hidden light that was put in the Torah, and Shabbat is the time to enjoy it all, to experience it like you're going to the best movie that was ever made, which is your life in the context of where it's supposed to be. When we see that all our lives are perfect, the way God has lived them with us, then we have this sense of acceptance, and that heals all the pain and all the disappointment and the frustration and the sense of loss and failure. All those things disappear in one drop of this light. The light of knowing the presence, of knowing the past, of knowing the future is all bound in our endless Creator. And so with all of these ideas, we can really go into the new year with some hope. And after this talk is over, I'm going to enter the now, and I'm going to probably get dragged backwards and forward in time a few times, and I'm sure my own imperfections will be brought up to my face once in a while. But you know what? I still know back to where I have to go. I go back to the beginning. And the beginning, again, is where God stored the future. And we attach to the words of the Torah, we attach to the beginning. And that stretches out over all of creation. So when you're learning Torah, you're not just reading any book. You're learning a prophetic manual of how time unfolds and repeats itself and reaches its ultimate conclusion, the perfection, the redemption of the Jewish people, the redemption of the entire world, the human race reaches its ultimate perfection. And guess what? Then the story begins again. There will be new things after that. Perfection isn't the end of the story. Then we take our perfection into the cosmos. And so there's a lot that has to happen, of course, before then. It's been one of the most difficult years that anybody can remember. And it's going to get a lot better this year. For sure, for sure. There might be some difficulties. I'm sure that nobody, the other side, what we call the other side, the people that don't want to believe in God, the people that want to go against the goodness, well, they're going to put up their fight, but they're not going to win. And so we got to stay tuned. We got to strap on our seatbelts. We got to, make sure we got good brakes and good gas pedal and hit the gas and let's go, because the new year is coming. It's going to be a great one. And I bless you all to find your peace and your presence in the now. And then you can look backwards and forward without disconcertment, without any difficulty. Because all the past and all the present are still wrapped into the sweetness and the perfection that's happening as life is unfolding in front of us. We just have to kind of go there and drop the past, drop the future, and be here in the renewal of Rosh Hashanah. So God bless you all with all the things that your heart wants that are good, and that you should see it happen before your eyes, even before you open your mouth to pray. Because God promised, I will answer you before you even pray, because He knows what's in here and He knows what we need to receive. And then when you see that, you know that there's something happening behind the scene. This is not just a mechanical creation we live in. There's something higher, much higher than the physical mechanics of this universe. And that's where the metaphysical universe begins. And we have the teachings, we have the teachers, we have the God. All we got to do is just open the books with a smile, and suddenly history opens itself up to us, and we will understand everything the way it's supposed to be. And when you get there, then you get this sense of being old and being young at the same time. That you can look at life with wonder and joy and appreciation, and there's none of that bitterness. There's none of that, oh, if it only was, or that false nostalgia of, oh, it was better then. All these things are not really true. They're illusions in the mind. that the heart knows the joy of the presence. God bless you all. We'll see you next week on all the platforms and continue on our daily classes of Rabbi Nachman and Patreon. And we look forward to seeing you then. Shana Tova, Shabbat Shalom.